All right, guys. Good morning. So, anyways, let's get right to it. I'm actually writing a book, and I'm finding it's supposed to be a fitness book, but because I spend a lot of my time researching, I guess, mindset and stuff in relation to fitness. And it's interesting because I run this class, a resilience class, and I teach mindset over fitness, actually. A lot of people come to the class thinking that it's about fitness, it's about weight loss, and it's about health. But the interesting thing is once you get your mindset sorted out, those things kind of just fall in place. So I found that writing this book, which was initially supposed to be a 24-week conditioning program book, a lot of what's coming out into the book is actually mindset stuff. So the reason why I am putting a lot of mindset stuff in there is because I believe that it's not that we don't know what to do or how to find out what to do. It's actually something that's in our minds, in our heads, that's creating an obstacle to actually attaining that thing that we want to attain. And in this case, it's weight loss or fitness or health or whatever. Okay, so I mean, this could pertain to anything else in the areas of your life and your goals and your values and purpose, meaning, etc., etc. So I love talking about value, purpose, and meaning, the psychology of the human being, and yeah. So a lot of that is coming out in my book. So the book is actually getting really close to being done. I'm finding I'm expanding a lot more. I mean, it was initially just a short book, and I'm finding that when I go back and I'm expanding it, I'm putting a little bit more research into there, and yeah, it's just stretching out. So I was being being optimistic about it is 2 weeks, but I actually don't want to just put in the 2 weeks. I actually want to put in, and I said it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, but I think I'm gonna stretch it out to that month because I'm actually really enjoying putting more in-depth stuff in there. And like I said, a lot of it is coming down to mindset in relation to fitness, because that's really where it is, right? It's in the mind, right? And I see that all the time running my class, that that's really what's stopping people, because the information in terms of fitness and nutrition and stuff that I'm giving people that come to the class, it's not some magic formula. Like, you go down an aisle in a bookstore, you can get all that information. There's no lack of data on how to do a diet or a workout. There's tons of information out there. I started off reading books and magazines, right? So there's no lack of data on how to do fitness and nutrition. Okay, but what's stopping people? It's that mindset, right? So like I said, a lot of what's going into the book is mindset. So one of the things that I talk about in my book, which is what this video I want the topic of this video to be, and I talked about it, I kind of touched base on it a little bit. And there's 5 stages, okay? And I talk about this in the book. There's 5 stages of fitness, and the first one is apathy. Okay, so what is apathy? Apathy is like just an I don't care kind of attitude, right? It doesn't really matter, stuff like that. So a lot of us go into that, start off at that phase. Okay, in fact, most of the time we're born into that phase. Okay, so I have kids, and it's not like my kids are thinking about health and fitness. They're thinking about candy, and they're thinking about watching TV. So there is no concern about going to the gym and lifting some weights and doing some chin-ups. I mean, they might do that at the playground, but a lot of times their priorities is going to be watching TV or candy, right? So a lot of us are born into that stage where it's there's apathy, right? Whereas in terms of health and fitness, there is no regards to it, right? It's not a concern until you want to do something more. So for kids, they might want to play sports, they want to get better at sports, and or whatever. Okay, so but we all start at a stage of apathy where we just don't care, right? Teenagers, I gotta say, are the worst for that. We've all been teenagers, right? And I used to smoke, I used to drink, and you have this invincibility complex, right? But let's go into let's fast forward a little bit and go into the adulthood here. So what are some of the causes of apathy. So I'm going to talk in regards to fitness, but again, it can go into relation to any other goal or life aspect. Okay, so when you're, this is one way that apathy might occur. Okay, so one way that apathy might occur is failure. Okay, so we need to learn how to deal with failure, because failure can cause apathy. And I see this a lot. A lot of people might be trying to do let's say a fitness and nutrition plan, and they've tried, and they'll go and they'll be like, I tried everything. I did all these exercises and it didn't work, right? So this failure actually leads to a state where they're like, it's just not worth it. I just don't care anymore. I'm not going to do this, right? Whatever. Okay, so that failure actually causes a state of apathy. So let me just, okay. So what happens is this failure can often lead to you thinking negatively about that very thing, right? So because you failed at trying out a diet plan or a diet or an exercise program, and you failed at it, you become negative towards that. So a lot of times when people are saying, diets don't work, well, they probably experimented with diets, right? So the only way they can really say diets don't work is because they probably tried it and they became bitter, right? And that could be with your sport, right? So I'm going to use my own example, okay? I've taken a couple beatings myself in terms of failures, career-wise, right? Businesses, in my sport. So I remember my last time I competed, I actually placed last place, and it was a big hit to me, and I became bitter, and it took me a long time. It's almost like you're a bit traumatized, right? So you're like like you just don't want anything to do with it, and you get into this negative state, and you begin to think negatively of what you are doing. Right, and that negative thinking actually creates obstacles to you actually even wanting to pursue it. So you have this apathetic mentality towards that thing, and you just become negative. You just don't care, right? In fact, it could be worse, because you could, instead of just not caring, you begin to like think negatively, and you're like talking negatively about it, and you become one of those victims, where you're looking at it and you're just trying to chop it down because it didn't work for you, right? So so that's what happens with failure, right? So the worst thing that can happen actually with failure is you begin to look negatively about yourself, and you're like, I'm not capable, I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'm too old, or maybe, and you start victimizing yourself some more. So apathy is the worst state that you could be in, because first of all, a baseline of apathy is you don't care. And then it could get worse, because that don't care, when you see somebody else doing it, you begin to negatively try to destroy that thing because you don't care about it. So this stage of apathy becomes an incredibly destructive place to be in terms of mindset. And does it progress you in any way? Does it move you forward in any way? Absolutely not. In fact, it degrades you and your capabilities, right? Your possible capabilities. And I really believe that the human capabilities is untapped, right? And you can just look at, and I love studying the human origins, and just to see what we have accomplished. And how we even got here from, living inside a cave is pretty, astronomical. So I think we're playing way below what we're capable of. And that I believe that the human being is very powerful. Okay, so, but in that state, in that mindset, in that kind of mentality, we're not going to be able to get anywhere. So the state of apathy becomes the worst place to be. And again, if you're staying there at a neutral ground, that's usually okay. But what happens is that neutral ground becomes tainted once you start seeing other people accomplishing something that you don't care about. You begin to try to bring it down to your level and destroy it, which makes everything worse. Okay, so we need to move beyond that state of apathy. Now let's relate it into fitness. So a base level of mindset towards health and fitness. Now, if you had that apathy towards health and fitness, let's just look at it in logically. Okay, we're gonna age, right, as we get older, and I could pull up a chart. In fact, I'm probably gonna start blogging, just so you guys know, and I'll put a chart up. If I blog about this topic, I'm gonna put a chart up that shows there's a dependency, right? So as we get older, our ability to move, muscle loss is lost, bone density is lost as we age. But without working on that and trying to reverse that effect, at an older age, there's actually a baseline where your dependency on people helping you out increases. But with those who are physically active, we're always above that line where the dependency on somebody else is not as required as much as somebody that has never worked on their health and fitness. Okay, so the point there is that if you have apathy towards health and fitness, eventually your body's going to degrade to a point where you will not be capable of managing yourself as you age. Okay, and I think I don't want to be a burden to my family. Okay, so as I age, I want to still be able to age gracefully, to be able to move myself to the washroom. And there's an interesting book. I think it was like, I can't remember who wrote it, but there's a book. It was called like 10 Regrets of the Dying, or something like that. I'm going to have to look it up and I'll post it up there too. But anyways, they give all these case studies of people that are dying. And I go through this book and I'm reading it. And so many of these cases, they have a caregiver that is helping them out that wrote this book. And a lot of them, they need help going to the washroom, even wiping their butts, stuff like that, And there was one case, of course, this one stood out to me, but she did yoga, like pretty much, before all this happened, she had cancer and everything. And she was able to move herself right up to the day that she passed. She didn't even want the help, right? She was able to do everything on her own. So that notion there pretty much says when you have apathy towards health and fitness, you will degrade, right? So the only way to counter that really is to find the importance that handling your health and fitness is actually very, very important to quality of life. Okay, from the state that you are now to the day that you're passing, even as old age. And I know a lot of people like to use old age as a reason, for not being able to. But there's a difference between somebody who's taking that time to work on their health and fitness at an old age or till their old age, and somebody that hasn't. So again, it's funny because there's a lot of articles. And there's even scientific articles that talk about the dangers of apathy, and yeah, so apathy is a very incredibly destructive state. And again, there's a lot of causes of it, but for this video, one of the causes is recognizing that failure could be a cause of it, and I believe that awareness is one of the first key things that you need to do in order to fix something. So a lot of times people will fail and then they'll start getting into this apathetic state and victimizing and thinking that, that's true. That, so they might say, oh, that diets don't work, and they believe that. And for the rest of their life, they've kept that view. But little did they know if they realize that because of their past failures, they've come up with that idea that maybe they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to try it again, right? So when you understand that maybe failure caused you to think that way in the first place, and it's not the actual reason it didn't work, then we can move on. And then we can break that state of apathy and carry on to do better things, rather than staying in that state where we think that it doesn't work for us. So again, this is in relation to fitness, but it could be any other goal in your life that you can use this information towards, right? And just think, why do we think that way? Is it because we become bitter? Is it because we failed in the past? Is it because we've become negative, right, about the actual event, the actual task, or have we just become negative about our capabilities, right? So does that defeat really is truly what it is about us, that like we're not capable, or have we made that up just because of that one mishap, right? So remember to keep in mind that sometimes we make up stories to try to justify our failures, and we keep that stories to heart, but a lot of times it's just victimization, and it's not true, right? Again, I believe that the human capabilities is huge, and yeah, so I'm gonna leave it as that, and yeah, hopefully that can help somebody get past state of failure. Okay, and it's funny because I posted a video, and I'm actually kind of enjoying failure, because one of the things that I said when I posted that video is failing is good, especially in practice. It might not be good in actual application, but in practice, why are we practicing to do what we can already do, right? We should be choosing to do things in practice that we are not able to do. We should reach for further capabilities of something that we could do. Why would we choose to do less than we can do? So when you're choosing to do something more than you can do, there's always going to be a chance of failure. But that's exceptional. That's the thing that we want to do. All right? So, okay, there we go. So that's good for now. And yeah, so I'm going to do some more of these. Check out my YouTube channel. And if anything, if you guys like fitness or mindset and stuff, yeah, check it out. And like and subscribe. All right, see you later, guys.